Rebecca Reimers here from the Bridger-Teton Avalanche Center Foundation. Today we're going to talk about field observations. Field observations from experienced users and the public are essential to the operations of the Bridger-Teton Avalanche Center. The ability to crowdsource information about the weather, snowpack, and avalanche conditions throughout the forecast region is invaluable.
Our field observation setup is modeled after the Swiss Field Observation Program. Their daily observations are provided by over 100 highly trained and experienced avalanche professionals that are spread throughout the Swiss Alps. This format has been simplified by the BTAC for use by the public. To make an observation on a laptop or smartphone, go to the Submitted Observation link on our homepage and then select Field Observation. To view a field observation from our homepage, go to the Data Center pull-down menu, select Observations, and then select Field Observations. Or use the link on the left side of any of our 3 morning forecasts.
Now let's talk about how to submit an observation. To speed up the submittal process, you may want to skip any fields that aren't required or relevant, or if you are unsure or hesitant to complete that specific field. When you make an observation, you will be prompted to enter information about who you are and how to contact you. Your name and email address are required fields, as we may want to reach out for additional information about the observation. You will also have an option to provide a phone number and your affiliation if applicable, such as AAI, Exum Guide, etc. Feel free to leave this blank or use some other descriptor like local snowmobiler or skier. The next field will ask you for information about when and where you were in the backcountry. The observation date field is required. The time period field has a pull-down menu that allows you to select whether you were in the field all day, only in the morning, or only in the afternoon. If you were in the field from 10 to 2, you could select any of these 3 choices or explain in the comment sections at the end of the observation submittal if you think it's relevant. Next, we want to know about the geographical location of your observation. If you are a skier or a snowboarder, this is likely to be limited to a relatively small area. If you are a snowmobiler or traveling in your vehicle through an area like the Snake River Canyon, this could include significant range. The forecast zone and the location fields are required. Keep the location entry short, as this field only allows for a limited number of characters. If necessary, please expand upon the location in the comments section of the observation. For example, Little Grays in the location field could be expanded in the comments section to, we left the trailhead in Alpine and rode up to McCain Meadows in the Little Grays River drainage. After you select which forecast area your observation is from, you will be able to select a zone from that forecast area from the zone menu. If you drive through multiple zones, pick one and elaborate in the comments section. If you are unsure which forecast area you're in, or more likely which zone of that forecast area, you can go to the Avalanche Events Map section of our website. To the right of that map window, you will see an option to click on a layer called Reporting Zones. If you click that layer, it will display the reporting zone boundaries. You may want to zoom in if your observation is near a reporting zone boundary. Now we know who you are and when and where you were.
The next section of the observation will enable you to make entries about the weather, warning signs, problem layer, hazard assessment, and to provide comments. Once again, please feel free to bypass any of these fields to speed up the time needed to make your observation. Or if you're unsure about what to enter, skip those fields. Let's look at the weather section. There are 4 fields: sky conditions, precipitation type, precipitation intensity, and the elevation of the rain-snow line when needed. If skies are clear, it's not necessary to use the precipitation type field. Please feel free to elaborate on weather conditions in the comments section if the option of these fields are not adequate. As forecasters, we're keen to get your weather observations, even if it's clear and calm. Strong precipitation intensity corresponds to snowfall rates near or exceeding an inch an hour, or a hard, steady rain. Weak is snow or rainfall that is either light or very little accumulation or sporadic in nature. Moderate is the range between weak and strong. Now let's look at the warning signs section. When conditions are dynamic and warning signs are apparent, the information in this section is hugely valuable to avalanche forecasters and other members of the public who will be viewing your observation. When conditions are static, you may want to skip this section. In this section, you will be prompted to provide observations regarding blowing snow, shooting cracks, collapsing layers, and problem layers. You'll be asked to provide your assessment of the avalanche hazard from your observation area. Fields that allow you to select the aspect and elevation of warning signs are also provided. If your information for those warning signs spans multiple aspects and elevation bands, you can provide that information in the comments section. Now to the blowing snow section. Next to precipitation intensity, blowing snow is one of the most useful observations that you can provide. The options in the transport field are defined as follows and are specific to the time of the observation only and to the aspect and elevation designated or expanded on in the comments sections. We have gale to extreme, extensive downwind transport. This is a rare and very impactful blowing snow condition. If this option is chosen, there is unlimited snow available for transport. Winds are very strong and are forming extensive areas of deep slab that extend well below ridge lines and cover most of the open terrain. Think many acres of active slab formation occurring over extensive terrain features. Next is strong to gale, leeward deposition obscuring visibility. This is a much more common event than the former section. This option is chosen when winds are blowing extensive amounts of drifting snow that are obscuring visibility, but that event is somewhat limited to ridge crests and leeward terrain near and in the immediate area of the ridges. Think several hundred feet down a ridge crest as opposed to several thousand feet. Then light to moderate, limited and localized blowing snow. This is also a very common occurrence that is less severe than when winds are actively blowing snow, but it's localized and limited in extent, or in cases when the availability of snow to be drifted is limited. Finally, there's calm. No snow transport or drifting is observed. The snow surface is calm. There's also the case when winds are strong, but the snow is frozen or crusted over and there's no transport occurring. Shooting cracks are another important warning sign. The option is provided to state whether they are rare, often, or none, and to designate the aspect and elevation where they have been observed. It's important to understand that shooting cracks rapidly extend long distance from skis, snowboards, or a sled, and are indicative of the presence of a buried weak layer and the easy propagation of a fracture on that weak layer. This is in stark contrast to cracking in new snow that may occur during storm conditions that does not propagate far. Collapsing or lumping layer is the next possible warning sign. This is very similar to the shooting cracks observation. Choices are none, rare, and often, and if so, on what aspect and elevation. If this occurrence is widespread, you can say so in the comments. The collapse and large audible lump are indicative that the weight of a person is initiating the failure of a buried weak layer, and that failure is propagating long distances. In these conditions, human-triggered avalanches are likely and may be remotely triggered from below a slope or an approach to that slope. As this weak layer becomes less sensitive to human triggers, skiers and riders may be able to get well out onto an avalanche-prone slope before it fails. Problem layer distribution is the next category. This section allows the observer to identify a buried problem layer by type and provide the depth of that layer on the aspect and elevation specified. This observation typically focuses on the layer of most concern with respect to its ability to being the most likely avalanche bed surface at the time of observation. Now you can state if there's agreement with the avalanche forecast. This section provides an opportunity for the observer to tell us whether they agree with the Avalanche Center's hazard forecast for that day, or if in their opinion the hazard forecast is too high or too low, and what the avalanche trend is when you made your observation. It's important to understand that substantial differences in the hazard can occur within a forecast area and that people have different perspectives regarding hazard assessment and hazard communication interpretations. That said, your opinion is highly valued. Finally, let's talk about the additional comments section. This is likely the most viewed section of the field observations. It's where you can tell us what you saw and elaborate, if necessary, about your observations. It's best to keep it short and succinct, but don't let that hold you back. Try to focus your comments on information that will be most useful to the Forecast Center and to other users. The last two fields enable you to upload photographs and video. You must scroll down and hit the Submit Observation button to finalize the observation submittal process. After a few seconds, a message will appear saying that your observation has been successfully submitted. Your observation will be forwarded to the Avalanche Center, reviewed, and then approved and posted on the site. This process may take some time if our forecasters are in the field, busy with other tasks, or if it's night and they're asleep. Your observations and patience are hugely appreciated. Now we have all these pertinent observations, but how do you view them? When you're viewing published field observations, you have the ability to select the date range of the observation. You can choose to view observations for all areas of the selected date range, or choose only to view observations from a specific forecast area or a specific zone in the selected forecast area. Remember to click on the Select Observation button after you have chosen a specific area and zone to view your selections. This tool would allow you to select an extended period, like the last 10 years, or this season, or just the last 30 days to see all observations for a specific forecast area or zone. Click on the header topics to open and close those sections for viewing other people's field observation details. We hope you found this tutorial helpful, and we look forward to receiving your observations.